I think I dislike anything that's pure, so to speak, and can be categorized.
Like pure jazz, pure blues,
yeah. I like to. I just like to play everything. I'd rather do a combination of things rather than anything pure. I don't like anything pure, no.
So you'd be happy with the tag that they put on you as soul, funk, jazz, disco, punk?
Well, I'm not happy with any tags, but that's a better one than just
That was
Smokey Robinson's son.
So it's June 1977, and Prince has just signed with Warner Brothers. He came away with a remarkable deal for such a young and relatively unproven artist. However, Prince first had to prove himself in the studio before they would agree. 3 experienced producers and the head of Warner's A&R attended a test session where Prince was asked to play the drums. He played the drums, put down a bass part and a guitar part for good measure, before they said, "Yeah, okay, fine, that's good enough." Prince signed a 6-figure contract with Warner's, which was one of the largest ever for a new act. He was also given the right to produce his own work and guaranteed 3 albums instead of the usual 1 or 2.
The deal that we came away with was a pretty spectacular deal for that time. The money was well into the 6 figures. In fact, if you added everything up together, it was over $1 million for that time, if you added in all the records and all the advances and everything. So we march off to Sausalito and making this record at I believe it was the record plant in Sausalito. And I got this nice home built into the side of this mountain, and Prince and myself and my wife and Andre Simone get on a plane and move out there and set up shop, and Andre and Prince are living with us, and our relationship was sort of surrogate parents at that point. I mean, we were cooking and cleaning and doing the hair and, you know, washing the floors and doing the sheets, and I was managing them at the same time. I can remember at one point all these honchos from Los Angeles came up to San Francisco to see how we were doing in the studio, you know, check up on us, because they left us alone to our own devices. And so I believe it was the president of Warner Brothers and Russ Thyrett, who was the VP of, he's now a senior VP of promotion at that time, I believe, 2 very big people within the company, fly up to San Francisco to see how we're doing. And I can remember walking in the studio, and Prince is working away in the control room, and he's there listening to a playback of some down-tempo song, and there was no bass. Prince didn't want any bass in the song, so I remember Lenny said to him something like, well, shouldn't there be a bass guitar in that song? And Prince looks at him and he says, "That's it, out, all of you out now, get out, that's it." And so I'm out in the lobby of the studio going, "Well, don't worry about him, he's really a good guy, you know." Because here he's throwing the whole entourage from Warner Brothers out. Prince was right, and he was right in what he was doing, and nobody was going to get in his way to doing it.
April the 7th, 1978, and Prince's debut album, For You, is released. Technically flawless and impressive, the album had taken 5 months to make and had cost most of the advance Prince had been given for 3 albums. It was a showcase by Prince to display his incredible talent, and it's claimed on the album's notes he played 27 instruments on the record. The reaction by the music press was fairly positive, and the album sold around 150,000 copies in the US, reaching number 163 on the Billboard chart. Prince wrote all the songs except Soft and Wet, which was a collaboration with Chris Moon. The album was synth-heavy, with Prince multi-tracking the synths to create a new kind of horn section using the Polymoog synthesizer. This approach gave birth to what would be called the Minneapolis sound. Elsewhere, there were delicate acoustic ballads with Crazy You and So Blue, a funk disco track just as long as We're Together, and hard rock with the guitar-driven album closer, I'm Yours. The album is production perfection, and Prince said in a later interview that it was too perfect, and that's why he probably doesn't listen to it anymore.
What was, let's say, the strength of making a very strong debut album as such? Did you require? I mean, there it was, you know, like your first album. You've got to make like the strong impact sort of thing. You were obviously nervous about the fact. How nervous were you?
Very. Not really nervous as much as I wanted to make it good and bereft of mistakes, and in the process it took a long time to make, and it's probably why I don't listen to it anymore, for that reason.
You don't listen to it?
No. It was a perfect record, and I don't know, it was too scientific, I guess.
2 singles were released. Soft and Wet, released on Prince's 20th birthday and charted at number 12 on the US Billboard Black Chart and number 92 on the Billboard Pop Chart. And Just As Long As We're Together, which only just crept into the Billboard Black Chart at number 91. Warners were keen for Prince to tour, so Prince returned to Minneapolis to put things together. Prince wanted a multiracial band with both male and female members. First in the band was Andre Simone on bass. Prince's cousin Chas Smith said he was asked to be in the band, but then Prince hired Bobby Z on drums instead. Not apparently because he was a better drummer, but because he was a white drummer. Des Dickerson was hired on guitar from an ad placed in a Minneapolis paper. And on keyboards, Prince hired 2 more white musicians, Gail Chapman and Matt Fink, both from the St. Louis Park, Minnesota. Pepe Willie also gave up his house for a rehearsal space for the band to practice. By late 1978, Prince's relationship with his manager Owen Husney had deteriorated, and they parted company. According to Husney, when the debut album wasn't a massive hit and they didn't become the multi-millionaires the way they wanted it to happen, the cracks started to appear.
Prince, I think, wanted it to happen faster, and because we had all deluded ourselves with this whole deal that we were going to be multimillionaires, when it didn't happen the way that we wanted it and needed it to happen at that time, I think we all became very disappointed and we started to wear on each other. I can remember after the first album came out and it did just so, here we are sitting around sort of licking our wounds and saying, well, and I'm coming up with that manager talk, you know, well, that was a good first start, you know, blah, 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 this and that. Our relationship at that point started to deteriorate just a little bit because the lines between sort of being his surrogate parents and being a manager and being able to draw the boundaries between all that and bring him information that he needed to know in the reality blows of the business, and at the same time sort of be his father figure, really were wearing thin on all of us. And at that time he was getting a little upset about all this, and then bang, we're sitting there and this record Funky Town comes out by this young white kid from Minneapolis, and all of a sudden we're looking at the charts. We said, wait a minute, this other record from this young white kid just went #1 on the black charts, on the urban charts. Then it went #1 on the pop charts. Then it went #1 on the dance charts. Then it goes #1 every free country on earth. I don't know if Prince will ever cop to this, but I think that record served to propel him. I know it caught him. It had to. I think that served to propel him on to really do what he had to do. We were so close at the time that I think I liken it more to breaking up of a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship rather than a manager-artist, you know, saying, screw you, get out of here, get out of here. There was a little bit of that, but there was a lot of emotion and I think a lot of hurt on both sides when we split up, because there was a lot of time invested, and there was a lot of time invested for both of us into the relationship on a business and a friendship level. And I think that made it tougher emotionally for us to part, other than just being some, you know, business issue. So it was tough, and it wound up, you know, it wound up where we both just left each other alone after that. It wasn't this thing of constant berating each other, doing anything. And I would never say anything negative about him because I do believe in what he does, and I'm a firm believer in his genius.
January 5th, 1979 sees Prince make his debut as a solo performer at the Minneapolis Capri Theatre, an actual cinema. The concert was staged as a benefit for the cinema, as the owner wanted to turn it into a club. The show's main purpose was a warm-up for a second show the following night for Warner Brothers VIPs. The opening night was dogged by technical problems with the equipment and caused several delays, but the concert was well received by John Bream, entertainment writer for the Minneapolis Star, who called Prince's debut encouraging and said that, combined with careful direction, time, experience and refinement, that should spell a royal future for Prince. January 6, and Prince performs for Warner Brothers executives in the second show at the Capri Theatre. The concert went okay, but Prince was far from the finished article on stage. The Warner's executives decided Prince wasn't ready to do a full-scale tour. Agents for artists, including Chaka Khan and Santana, had all expressed interest in having Prince as their opening act, but the proposed tours never materialised. Prince wouldn't perform again until late 1979. June 1979, and Prince completes work on his second album. This time Prince completes the album in 6 weeks at Alpha Studios, close to Warner Brothers headquarters in Burbank, California. Prince also signs with Los Angeles-based management team of Bob Cavallo, Joe Ruffalo and Stephen Fagnoli. 24th of August 1979, Prince releases I Wanna Be Your Lover as the first single from the as yet unreleased second album. It becomes Prince's first US hit, reaching number 11 on the US chart and reached number 1 on the Black chart, selling 1 million copies. October 19th, and Prince's second album, Prince, is released. A much more commercial album than the first offering. Prince himself stated the second album was pretty contrived. I had put myself in a hole with the first record because I spent a lot of money to make it. I wanted to remedy that with the second album. I wanted a hit album. It was for the radio rather than for me, but it got people interested in my music. The album had a similar theme to the first, but took it up a few levels. Again, featuring a mixture of soul, funk, hard rock and pop, Prince was starting to show little flashes of what was to come in the future. The album features arguably Prince's first seduction ballad, with When We're Dancing Close and Slow, with Prince being more direct and explicit with his lyrics, with the line, I want to come inside of you.
I want to come inside of you. I want to hold you in.
And on the rock majesty of Bambi, a real standout track that deals with Prince in love with a gay woman and trying to make her understand that it's better with a man. Elsewhere, there are gentle love songs dealing with unrequited love in Still Waiting and It's Gonna Be Lonely. Then we have the funk workout of Sexy Dancer and another heavy guitar rocker, Why You Wanna Treat Me So Bad. But the star of the album has to be the opening track and first single, I Wanna Be Your Lover. A brilliant pop song showcasing that Prince had the ability to write their catchiest hooks and make hit singles perfect for both radio play and the discos and clubs.
I wanna be your lover. I wanna be the only one that makes you come running. I wanna be your...
The album was a hit, going on to sell over 1 million copies in the US and charted at number 22 on the Billboard Top LPs and Tapes chart and number 3 on the Billboard Soul chart. 5 singles were released, but only the single I Wanna Be Your Lover was a hit. Prince undertook a small tour to promote the album in November and December 1979, and after a break in January while Prince fought a bout of pneumonia, continued in February. The performances were a huge leap and improvement over the 2 Capri Theatre shows. Prince, wearing bikini briefs, leg warmers and high heel shoes, strutted the stage, French-kissing Gal Chapman, the keyboard player, rubbing up against Andre Simone in a sexual manner, and playing the music in a real heavy rock sound, which completely took audiences by surprise. Matt Fink was now christened Dr. Fink and wore a complete surgical outfit, complete with stethoscope and surgical mask, and during the tour, Prince introduced a new song into the set, called Head, which saw him and Gal Chapman simulating fellatio on stage, a sign that things were about to become dirty.